So once you've downloaded the purse pattern pieces, for this tote bag, it will print out on 9 sheets of 8.5 by 11 paper. And if you look closely in the corners of each of the sheets, there's going to be these little hash marks. So the first thing you should do is print out all your pieces and just line up each of the little hashtag marks. And then just grab yourself some tape. And let me grab the tape. Sorry, I left it over here. And line them up as best you can. You might actually have to hold this up to a piece of glass if you have a hard time seeing, but you can see that one hashtag mark there and the other one there. So I'm just gonna do this, and there's the one on the other side, and I'm just gonna go ahead and tape it down. And mostly you want to tape on the inside. So you're just going to keep taping until you get all the pieces taped together. And then we'll cut out, can cut out the pattern piece itself. So this part is not hard, and I'm so sorry it's taken, messed up my tape. It's taken 9 sheets of your paper, but it'll be worth it. It'll make a very nice bag. You're going to be so surprised how easy this bag is to make. And this is what I'm calling my reusable, recyclable fabric grocery store tote bag. That's what this is going to be called. This is going to be called the Jackie bag. That's what I'm going to call it. Okay, so I've got that side all set up. And I know you don't want to sit here and watch me tape sheets of paper together. So I'm going to go ahead and tape it all together. Then I'm going to cut it out, and then we'll pin it to the fabric so you can see what it looks like. So once you have your pattern pieces all taped together, now you can just go ahead and start cutting it out. If you don't have a table big enough to cut this out on, you can just lay it out on the floor and you can cut it out that way. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish cutting it. And typically when I cut, I just kind of do it kind of generally. And then when I get into the curves and these different sections, then I just kind of go in a little bit closer. Now with this bag, this pattern, this is asking you for a 1/2 inch seam allowance. But you could use a 1/4 inch seam allowance if you want. It's entirely up to you. And let's see. I'm gonna go ahead and just keep cutting. I know I told you I wasn't gonna show you how to do this, but I know there's some people who are still kind of new to all of this. So I want to make sure that you guys understand, you guys and gals understand, what it is you're doing. And if some spots it seems like you didn't put enough tape, just grab some more tape, put more tape. So I'm going to cut out this middle part. Curves are not my friend. I hate cutting curves, but I find if you just take your time, you can do it and it comes out okay. And see, it's not a lot to cut. Ooh. And messed up something back there. And okay, so now we got this other edge here. We're just gonna cut that off, and now we're just gonna cut this edge off. And that's it. So easy peasy. You've got your bag pattern laid out, you've got it cut. And now we're going to go ahead and pin it down to the fabric. Okay, one of the little tricks we're going to do with this pattern is for the straps, we're not even going to cut straps. This is all going to be cut from one piece. But what I want you to do, you need to cut 2 of these, but you need to cut them where the straps are on the fold. So I've actually taken this fabric, which in all honesty, this used to be a shower curtain, but you know, a fabric shower curtain. So it's fine for the purposes here of what we're doing. And so you're going to need fold it in half, and the tops of the bag, you need to make sure that they're aligned on the fold. Find my pins. Then just go ahead and pin it down. Remember, you're cutting through 4 pieces of fabric. So if you're using a really thick fabric, you definitely gotta go slow, take your time, and cut carefully. Okay, so, the other thing, let me pull back a little bit. I want to show you, on this edge, even though this is a fold, you're going to actually stitch along here. So you don't actually have to cut on the fold. You can just cut that part open. So it won't be that big of a deal. So I'm just going to keep pinning. It's a lot of straight-ish cuts on here. So it's not that hard, and it won't take you that long to cut it out. So I just did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I just put 6 pins on here. So now I'm just going to go ahead and cut right through. And I might have to get a different pair of scissors because these are acting... Oh, well, maybe they'll be okay. So we're just going to cut that out. And like I said, even though this is on the fold, you need to cut here. Because you got to stitch and do some other things. So I don't think it'll work like that. Although it might, but better to just go ahead and cut through on that edge. So we're going to just cut around here. Something left. And just going to cut this. This is my new lighting setup, so I hope this is going to work. Okay. So that's that. And actually, because this is such a big, well, it's not that big. Let me not scare you. Just gonna cut right around in there. I know you see a lot of YouTube videos where the people are like, oh, cutting everything perfectly. That ain't me. That is not me. But I can cut well enough and get the job done, and by the time you start sewing and tweaking and getting it stitched up, it'll come out fine. And we're gonna cut this one piece over here, and then it's almost the funnest time to head to the sewing machine. Okay. And we'll just cut straight. Okay, so we've got it all cut out. That's pretty much it for this tote bag pattern. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to stitch the first piece together, and then I'll show you how to put it all together. Make magic happen. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and take the pattern off of the fabric. Remember, we didn't have to use a whole bunch of straight pins, so that makes it easy peasy. Just going to take those off. And take your pattern and just fold it, set it aside somewhere because you don't need that right now. So you now have 2 pieces. You have one side of the bag, and then you have the inside of the bag and the outer side of the bag. I probably should have used 2 different colored fabrics, and then it would be easier for you to see the different sides to it, but not to worry. So what you want to do, oops, let me pause for that part. Okay, I wanted to show you a different way also of cutting your pattern. You know, especially if you're using scrap pieces of fabric, you know, just what you have left over. So sometimes you won't always be able to cut on the fold of the fabric with this pattern, and that's fine. So you've got options. You can either use different fabric, go buy something else, or you're just gonna switch it around a little bit. So I'm just gonna take the pattern and I'm going to just line it up on the fabric the best way that I can. And I'm gonna just go ahead and cut. Now these will have these openings, but I'm gonna stitch across here to close that seam back up because you'll need to do that. And for me, for this bag, this is gonna be the bag lining. And I had this beautiful fabric for another project, but I can't remember what project it was. So I'm going to use this also. And this fabric, it's got the same issue as well, is that it's not wide enough to cut on the fold. I don't think. Let me triple check that. So, all right. Yeah, this is this piece of fabric on the fold. Actually, it might. Okay, just barely. Now, with this piece of fabric, if obviously it's got this pattern that goes that way, but if you want it the other way, we have to cut it like that. I'm gonna do it this way simply because of what's going on with the lining, although I don't have to. The choice is entirely up to you how you're gonna do your bag, but I'm gonna go ahead and cut this out, pin it, cut it out, and show you what I mean by what's going on with the top part of the handles. It's a real easy fix, and it's gonna be great. Any way you look at it, this is a real pretty fabric, so I think it's gonna come out nice. Okay, so now I wanted to show you what I did. Remember, we had to attach these two sections together for the shoulder straps. So I went ahead and I stitched along the inside of the handle, and then I just took the iron and flattened it out. It's helpful to use an iron when you're sewing. It just makes the seams lie flat and look a lot better. Okay, so now we're gonna turn this over. And since this is gonna be the outer section of our bag, which I love this fabric, it's really pretty. And this is the inner section inside of the bag. And I did the same thing, and I showed you this a minute ago, because the lining fabric that I had that was left over, it wasn't wide enough for me to do it on the fold. And I think you see that in an earlier portion of the video. So anywho, so now we're going to take the two right sides and line them up. And take your time doing this. Just find your little end piece here, and you're going to line these up nice and neat. And okay. Once again, yeah, I cut a little wonky. That was on me. I need to slow down, take my time cutting. But keep in mind, since you're gonna have about a quarter of an inch or half an inch, it should be fine. If not, cut it again, fix it over. But you're gonna see how it's gonna come out. It's gonna look fine. You're not even gonna notice. So, not to worry. But yeah, line it up as best you can. And that saves problems that you might have as you go along. So we're going to, I hope y'all are liking my new camera setup. It's what we got to do for these bigger ones, these bigger projects that I'm trying to show you where it's all laid out. Okay, so now I'm going to take it over to the sewing machine. These are for your handles. So we're going to stitch all along the inside. We're going to stitch here. That's what we're going to do first. I wanted you to see this because I typically sew. I use my sewing foot to kind of guide my measurements. So I know I'm going to be over about a 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch, but it'll be uniform all the way around. Okay, so I've got it all stitched down all the way around. One thing, and this I didn't used to believe in until I started doing it. When you've got these circular, anything that's like an angle, you need to take some really sharp scissors and just snip right in that line of the curve. And that way it won't be bulky on when you flip it inside out. I personally hate doing this because it takes time. And I'm always freaked out that I'm going to cut through the seam, which would be a pain. So just take your time doing it, and it should be fine. But it is important to do, or you get that little bulk, which might not bother you at all. So don't worry about it then if you don't want to do this part of it. So, but it's amazing how much easier this, how it'll look better if you do it. So just take your time and see, there's a white thread and I'm just cutting right up to the edge of it. So that's just what you want to do. Okay. I kind of sort of think I've done enough. Oh, forgot about this other over here. And boom. Okay. I think we've done plenty. So now what you want to do is open up the fabric and take the lining piece. Just take all the lining bits and pieces, well, not bits and pieces, the lining section, and just push it into here. Just push it in on the inside. Okay, see, easy peasy. I'm gonna put some pins here so you can see, get a better idea of what I'm doing. But a lot of times when I'm just doing this, just to be making these, I don't use a whole bunch of pins, but it's a choice. And it's a good idea, once again, to go back to your ironing board and iron it all out so it'll be nice and smooth. This bag is going to be really pretty. It's because of the color. So you see what I'm doing here? I think you kind of get the idea now. Yeah. So this is going to be part of your bag handles. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do a few more pins here. It'll help you and me. And when you do take your project over to the ironing board, just be careful with your pins. You probably want to put your pin heads on the inside so that when you run it over, go over it with the iron, you won't melt your pins. And why am I out of pins at this table? Because I've been using them at the other table. So just going to keep pinning this because I want my inner lining to sort of not be seen. And you do realize we're taking an awful lot of time and trouble on what is going to be a reusable grocery store tote bag that ultimately you're just going to fill it up with groceries and every now and then throw it in the washing machine, in the back of your car, in the bottom of your purse. But hey, why not take your time doing it the right way the first time so it comes out really nice and all your friends will go, ooh, where'd you get that from? And you'll be like, I made it myself, girl. So once again, I'm not a fan of pinning, and usually I just eyeball this and go for it. But I want to make sure I show you guys the right way. Guys and gals, the right way. Okay, so we got this all pinned. I'm going to go iron it and iron it flat. And I'll be right back. Let me see something else about ironing it flat. Yeah, I'll be right back. Okay, so as you can see, I ironed this down. So it came out really, really well pressed and it looks very professional. It's starting to look really great. Okay, so how do you stitch all of this together? Well, pretty easy. Here's what you got to do. You're going to roll and fold. So you need to kind of line this up nice and neat and just roll, roll, roll all the way till you get to the end, till you finish rolling it. Then what you want to do is pull this section this way and flip this section under. So now you have your two front sections facing each other. And if you didn't catch that on camera, let me show you again. Let me kind of zoom in here. Okay, we rolled the whole thing up. So you want to pull one section towards you and you want to catch the other side. Easy peasy. So easy. You're not going to believe how this little trick makes a world of difference. And then we're going to go ahead and pin that. You're kind of rolling it up like a strudel or, I don't know, a sausage roll. I don't really have a way to describe it, but you're just going to roll all this together and pin these. This is where pinning is helpful because that way you know you're not pinning into your fabric, because you don't want to catch that piece that you rolled up in there. You don't want to stitch through there. So just use pins, take your time, and the more you do this, the easier it becomes for you to do, and it'll be real easy peasy, super quick for you to do. So just make sure that's tucked down in there, pin it, and then you're going to stitch this side, and you're actually going to pull it inside out. It's a lot of straight stitches in this project, which I love. That's my favorite. So just keep pinning, pinning, pinning. Sometimes you might have to kind of check in there to make sure that you're not pinning your fabrics in the wrong place. So just keep pinning all the way. Put this back over. Yep. And making sure your edges line up with each other. If you get a little wrinkle, crinkle, just go back and fix it, adjust it. It's not that hard. It's better to do it now than later and be like, oh shoot, I should have done that. Okay, so just stitch it all the way down to the end. And then we're going to flip this inside out, and we're going to do the same thing to the other side. So I'm going to go stitch, and then I will come back and show you how to flip it inside out. Always sticking myself. Okay, now that you've stitched it all up on that side, it looks like a hot mess. But now what you want to do is just turn it inside out and bring all of this from the other side through that opening. See how easy that is? Wow. Amazing, right? Okay, so let me zoom back out a little bit. So, ta-da! Now you've got one side done. You can do this now, or you can do it a little bit later, but you might want to just poke out your little edges there. And same thing over here. Just kind of get that to poke right out. Boom. See? Easy peasy. Now this is what I was telling you about. One of those little corners where I didn't snip probably well and it'll pucker a little bit. You can kind of go in there after the fact. And I'm going to snip that a little bit because I don't want that to pucker like that. Okay, I think that's its corner. Let's see. Yeah, and now you can definitely see how once you make sure you do those little snips in that little corner, it looks way better. Okay. So now we've got this. We did one side, so now we're going to go ahead and fix the other. And it's the same thing that you just did. You're just going to roll all this together. Even it out. And what you want to do, remember, you're going to take this piece and then that piece on the other side. You just want to bring them together. So once again, you're having your two right sides together. So I'm just going to do a few pins because I showed you how to do a bunch of pins before. It's up to you as far as how many pins you're going to use to that makes you comfortable in sewing at this point. And then just definitely got to make sure all of this lines up so that you don't sew through to the actual bag. And even if you do, that's not a big deal. All you got to do is just pull those stitches out and fix it. It's that easy. So I already showed you this before, and I know you don't want to see that again, so I'm going to go ahead and stitch all this up, and I will be right back. And once again, it looks like a hot, mushed up mess, but you just go to one end of your bag, and you're just going to pull it all the way through. Just basically, you're turning it inside out. It's like magic, right? So cool and so gonna be so pretty. This will make you want to go shopping. Okay, so you want to find your little corner edges there and the other little corner edge. And looky there. Wow. Looking good, right? Looking good so far. Okay, once again, you're going to poke these little sections out. You can use your finger or a pencil or, you know, some little tool. And I'm headed back again for the ironing machine. For the iron, because I just want to press that out so it comes out nice and even. So that's how you flip it inside out. And we're going to move on to the next section after I go ahead and iron that, press that out a bit. Okay, so now you've got everything all nicely pressed and smooth. So we're going to take it and turn the bag inside out. So you want your two outer edges to line up. So now you're going to stitch the bag together. We are almost done. This has been This is definitely the easiest bag and bag pattern I have created, if I do say so myself. So line everything up nice and neat. You're gonna stitch all along here, top to bottom. Make sure it's how you want it. So this is one simple stitch there, and you need one simple stitch going down this side. So easy peasy. Just line and smooth everything up. Make sure these two edges here line up with each other. And your edges over here, make sure they line up with each other. And then you're just gonna do a straight stitch straight down the edge. Okay, let me go do that and be right back. Okay, so now you've made, or I've made a stitch on the inside of the bag. So both sides you want to make your stitch that runs all the way the length of the bag. Okay, so now turn your bag inside out again, and what we're gonna do is just fold so that it's even here on this outside edge. So it's basically tucking in what's here and making it kind of even on that side, and then just smoothing it out. So, yep, just want to make sure this is right on the inside. See, now it's even starting to look like a grocery bag, right? Okay, so now you got it all nice and smooth and evened out on both sides. If you're feeling like I'm feeling some little puckers on the inside, just even it out. Okay, now, ooh, gotta make sure I pick that up. You want to pin the bottom, because now this is where you're going to do your how you're going to close up the bottom of the bag. Now it is entirely up to you if you want to do more than one stitch on the bottom of the bag to kind of make sure it's got added strength, but one stitch should be fine. So that's that, easy peasy. So checking, okay, yeah, it puckered right there. I kind of felt that little puckering. So when in doubt, just take it out. So now we're going to take it over to the sewing machine, and we're going to stitch right across the bottom of the bag. Okay, now let me go in a little closer here. Now you can see where I stitched all across the bottom of the bag, and you want to make sure that you're catching both sides. Once again, if you want, you could do another stitch along there to really reinforce the strength of the bag, but you'll see the next step is going to kind of help with that anyway. So you don't want this to be too bulky at the bottom, so you can trim off the excess. Just take a little bit off, or if you got really close to the edge, or if you had a serger, you wouldn't have to do this step at all, which is fine. And I know you're saying, oh, but this is on the outside of the bag. Wait, I'm going to show you another little trick. So that's all nice and clean cut. So what you want to do now, we're doing a whole lot of turning inside out today, right? So just flip that bag inside out again, because you're going to have these little sections, and you want to line all this up nice and neat in here. What this does is, just like the plastic bags, it allows your bag to expand a bit and make sure you've got this little edge all pushed out as much as is possible. Okay, so now you've got that all nice and neat and ready to go. We flipped the bag inside out, and now we're going to stitch right across here. You're going to see we're almost done. Okay, so like I said, just tuck this in, tuck these little corners in, make sure that they are a-okay. And now you want to just stitch right across the bottom. Make sure my seam is even. This bag is not reversible, and we're not doing box corners like I usually do with my bags. But this is a little bit easier. I really kind of like this style. So I'm just going to stitch right across there, and I will be right back. Okay. Easy peasy. We're just about done. So you can see I made the stitch going across. And you got a lot. For some reason, why I got all these extra thread. But anyway, since this is the inside of the bag, we're just going to snip off any little excess threads. And ooh, see, I got the fabric. Don't tell anybody. Okay, so I think we are done with this bag. This was so easy and so simple to make. So now it's time for the big reveal. So once again, we're flipping this bag inside out. And ta-da! Wow, you've now got a really nice looking bag. Really nice. Let me come zoom back out for that. And see how your bag, it opens up, it widens a little bit to carry all your groceries and stuff, and you know, that's like pretty cool. That is really nice. This bag looks so nice. You're going to get so many compliments on your grocery bags, right? That's crazy. But when you're not at the store and, you know, you take them home and you empty out all the groceries and then you wash the bag and you set it aside, these bags will fold up really nicely. And that's pretty much it. You can just have it fold up, and let me see, I think if you fold it up tightly enough, this little edge, your straps, will just tuck into there. Like that. Oops, that one came out. Just tuck that in. Now, you just put it in your purse and ready to go. You could put one of those hair bands on it if you want. You could even, I've seen some people do it different ways, but I like this bag. This came out really nice. I hope you enjoyed this video tutorial, and I really hope you'll buy my pattern. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.